science is very powerful. I already began to scare because today my topic is about art and power. So science is kind of power, and my topic is art. I think art is powerful too, and I think it's a power to create a better world. And I want to introduce myself first. And my name is Kiri, and I'm from China. This is a previous project I did when I was in China to make me enter the contemporary art world. And this is the first book I did called Rong. I invest some money to begin an art project, $6,000 in my later 20 years. In my later 20s, and that made me build a relationship with all the Chinese contemporary artists, which I bring the book here. It's a very thick book, and you can pass around. Which is a very famous artist village. Now become, when I do this book, it's 200 artists around to live in that area. Now probably over 2,000 artists live in that village. And here, second book I did is, actually later I work for an auction house. It's also changed my opinion to the art world. So here I also bring this book, and it made me know a lot of things inside of the art world. So that's later after the auction house. I was lucky chosen by the director called Mika for a documentary film. Now this film already in lots of festivals, even come to San Francisco, and I didn't finish this film. He followed me like 1 year. It also gave me a very special position to see the artists and talk with all the curators. And this, when I come to American, I start a small gallery called HR Now. I began to curate some show and bring some Chinese art to Bay Area. That's one show I did in Art Murmur called Made in China. And I bring some quite interesting things, artwork to there. It's a good show. Lots of people see this piece. And that's what I did last year in Academy. I curate the main room, which my concept is bring the human side to the human side of art to the techie art world. And this is the project I'm working on now. It's 5 artists participate. It's a Chinese restaurant. It's a bar, like 20 feet long. It's a huge art project, paint with wax, and the background is LED lighting. Also have the application control the LED light, which bring me lots of trouble. Okay, so now we talk something about the Chinese art. I just gave you a few general introduction about the Chinese art. In January, Chinese, traditionally, the figurative painting is more expensive than the landscape painting, which influenced the Chinese contemporary art a lot. And the biggest difference of the Western art and the Eastern art, it's multiple perspective from the old time. And the Chinese normally paint the world from their heart. They paint, they more use their eye to see the world because your eyes keep changing. So they just paint their feeling. But the the Western art is they start from the camera point of view. So they paint the world in one point to see the world. And also, when I talk with lots of Chinese artists, they said one thing they told me a lot. It's the technique. They always tell me, actually, technique is not so important. Which form and which material is never important. It's the most important is what you want to tell the world. And one phenomenon about Chinese contemporary art is a group, which I will show you later. It's a lots of things happening in group, like F4, artists live in village, like Song Village, East Village. So this also make Chinese contemporary art thing. It's quite interesting. And talk about Chinese contemporary art. Also, we have to talk about the Chinese society. That's really influenced the Chinese art. And China, we have lots of problems. That's the reason we have lots of art. I think art is a reflection of our time. And also, I want to talk about art and market. Without market, I think it's more difficult for the artist. Okay, let's start it. And first things, last 50 years, something happened in China. It's the most important things. It's 10 years Cultural Revolution. This really influenced China a lot. And some people say it destroyed one generation. Some people say 2 generations, include my generation, maybe a little bit older than me. I was born in in 1972. It's also inside of the revolution time. And that time, we have nothing. So it's last 20 years, it's 20 years, 30 years is really the time China have a huge change. So that's the starting point for the modern China, actually. After the revolution, 3 years later, China really have the modern art start. That's the first art exhibition we have. It's called Star Art Exhibition. It only can be held in a small park. It only opened 3 days because it's closed by government. But that's the real start point for Chinese contemporary art. And that's the second start. It's already entered the National Art Museum of China. And of course, here is a famous guy, Ai Weiwei, and he participated the first one and second one, and he came to America to study art, actually. And then the next 10 years, it's the Chinese artists really try hard. They work so hard. They tried Western 100 years art form and thought. So this 10 years art, you can see lots of similarity with Western art. So later, they give all the critics, they give a name of this period called the 85 New Wave. And the ending of this wave is finished by the big exhibition called China Modern Art Exhibition. It's also held in the National Art Museum of China. And there have lots of very important artists inside this exhibition, include like Xu Bing, his artwork in SF MoMA. And you can see lots of familiar names. And this one is the artist girl. She shoot her work without notice to people. Then it stopped the exhibition for 2 days. And this also, since that time, the Chinese art then the contemporary art never can enter the National Museum again. And so the turning point is 1989, the June 4th incident, and it's these things. After these things, you can find a lot of information from internet about this one, and this is also the turning point for the Chinese society and the Chinese art world. I think from this moment, Chinese society more turned to the direction of the money, to earning money, also for the art world too. And they have an important exhibition in 1993, and they called After '89, which come the most famous Chinese artists like Fang Lijun, Yue Bingjun, and you can see all these faces everywhere, and Wang Guangyi, and Zhang Xiaogang, and Zheng Fanzhi. All this is the name, you can see it everywhere, and they become the world richest artists, and their artwork also like top 20 world most expensive art. And then you can see it's a lot of figurative because it's linked to the price. And cannot move.
Oh, that's weird. Maybe the battery is died.
Yeah. And here I have a book of Zheng Fanzhi, and you can see lots of his work from here. And I tell you a little bit here. I introduce a little bit things about the background of the Chinese contemporary art. It's about the group of people. This starts from the first artist, Fang Lijun, and he started to move to this village called Yuanmingyuan. And then because of his success, he lots of collectors come to him, visit him. Then other people, he also introduced to other people. Then all the other artists began to gather together. Later, nearly 200 people live in this village. But it's only exists 5 years because government closed them, of course. And his critics and the curator from that time, from Yuanmingyuan time, and he also lived in Yuanmingyuan. And later, all these group artists moved to Song Village, which is my book began. And then from that time, they began like 200 artists till now. In Song Village, have lots of museum, lots of gallery, lots of artists live there. They build studio. It's really become an important town for the art scene. And here also have one village I have to say, because then you can understand Chinese art more when you see all these weird pictures. It's called East Village, and this is important artworks they did. It's 10 of these artists. They just naked and add one by one. It's called add 1 meter to an owner's mountains. And this 10 artists' name, it's if you know this 10 artists' name, actually you can understand a lot if you go to a Chinese it's art fair or something. Then you see artworks, then you noticed, oh, that's one of the naked artists. For example, this guy, he had exhibition in New York. As I think just last year, one curator sent a picture to me, and Zhang Huan, and he's one of the naked guy, and Cang Xin, and he just used his tongue to taste everything, even the mud, the stone. He's another naked artist. And this is another naked artist. You can see lots of, in art fair, he's selling his picture. Lots of galleries selling his picture. You might don't understand, because he's another naked guy. And he's like, he always showing his woman side. He's a man. but he make himself look so pretty and make picture, so that's his art. Another naked guy. And this is another naked guy, and 左小诅咒. And he's the musician for the Ai Weiwei. Ai Weiwei's movie, all his movie use his music, called 左小诅咒. And his music is kind of extremely noisy, extremely, how to explain it? It's very hard to hear. I can show you a piece a little bit later. But see how Ai Weiwei explained to see 左小诅咒. He sings the evil times sadly, so sad till extreme evil. Without his noise, stay in this time will be more uncomfortable and false. That's what he said. That's the reason he used his uncomfortable music. Okay, then we talk about Ai Weiwei. Now everybody know Ai Weiwei. Okay, so how he started. And government make him famous because of this nest project. So every Chinese in China know his name since that project. And that time, he's a friend of government. He never criticizes the government. He's a good guy. So he's a good sample for the artist. He did good things. The turning point is this. It's 2009. He did an investigation about Wenchuan earthquake because lots of kids died. So he began to do serious investigation, and he made a documentary film. And this one, it's his turning point. Since then, he began to make a lot of documentary film and criticize the government. Just the things he think it's strange, have question, then he make a film. He did lots of film actually. And then he continued to doing that till he's in jail. And now in the world, everybody know his name. So he become most powerful artist in China because now the government scared of him, and he have the influence to lots of people because people pay more attention to his work. And he gonna come to the Alcatraz in September, his exhibition. I think it's something worthwhile to see. It will stay in that island for a little while. And his exhibition called Freedom and Fighting, I think. It's about freedom and fighting. Okay. Okay. And okay, that's Ai Weiwei. His one of things. Now I want to talk about the art market because it's a very big phenomenon about Chinese contemporary art. It seems everything linked a lot with the market, with the commercial part. I give you an example how they make their art market. That's this auction book. It's from an auctioneer. So there have lots of very interesting number inside because he write down all the number. After he finished the auction, he gave this book to me as a gift. And I think after a few years, I can show this one to the people because then you know all the price of the artwork. They already gave the price before the auction finish. So you know how they control the market so well in this book. So I don't know the intention why he gave this book to me just after finish this. It's a very important auction in China that time. After finish this auction, he just gave it to me. It's like you feel, even himself feel it's like a joke. And another thing is the museums. I say it's because we really have lots of museums in this moment. Some people say it's 4,000, some people say like over 10,000, include Science Museum. And this picture is a museum from Shenzhen Dafen village. And this is a very interesting thing in China because this village, actually it's just a village who make copy art. And they collect the money, then they build really world-class museum. And in China, all the museums have this kind of story in the back. And now all this money from the government. All this money all from bottom to up. That's something I feel is quite special about Chinese contemporary art. And it's something I admire it a lot, this moment. Okay, so finally, it's a little joke about that. It's in the name of the art we live, like the artists I mentioned before, the Fang Lijun and Yue Bingjun, all the artists, there are 2 artists. I mentioned 5 artists. 2 artists, they all own restaurants. The Fang Lijun even own 9 restaurants. People interview him, ask him why he still wants own restaurant, even his artwork is so expensive. He said he likes the feeling counts money every day, make him feel it's so grounded. And when he makes art, he feels scared. That's the life part of the artist. And it's very interesting. And I found in the internet about the power. What's the definition about power? It's the ability to direct or influence the behavior of the others. If this is the definition, art definitely is a power. So as an artist, I think have the responsibility to use this power well to make the world a better place. Thank you and good night.
So I was in China, in Beijing, in November.
Yeah.
Thanks to Kiri, I met a few important people. By the way, I'm disappointed.
Okay.
She has a picture of me, the one who is important.
Oh yes, I deleted because I did short.
So as a personal experience,
Yeah.
2 things. Once she said it, at one point one of these people I met said this year we are opening 1,000 museums. And I thought, well, this English is not good. Probably not 10. No, this is really 1,000 museums, new museums in 1 year.
Yeah.
And the second thing, those villages, you have to see it to believe it. The Song village, I think it's 5,000 artists actually.
Oh, it's already 5,000.
Yeah,
it's up
and it's 30, 40 minutes from Beijing.
Yes.
And the weekend, families go with children and so on. So it's pretty crowded and so on and so forth. And there's literally gallery, you know, then museums with bigger and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we have something like that in the West. Now, all of this, when you know that that's a government that doesn't really allow freedom of expression. So this is kind of amazing. As you walk through this village, it's sort of surreal. You know you are in China,
Yeah.
but there are 5,000 artists, and some of them are illegally there, right? They often they just took an abandoned place and started there.
Yeah.
So anyway, questions?
Okay. Questions. Okay.
Thanks, I enjoyed your talk a lot. Could you tell me a little bit about female artists in China and if there's anything unique happening in terms of the women artists there?
When I was in China, I do know lots of female artists, and they even do lots of performance, use their body, and it's very open. And I think in China, in general, women have very good position compared to actually to lots of Western world. In my experience, it's so they don't have a big restrict about the woman artists, and even for their body open or something. But in another way, but as a woman artists still have some disadvantage. In some ways, they are not that strong as the men artists showing. And I think one thing is also because the Chinese contemporary art, they also link a lot with the commercial, with the money side. So they particularly choose a lot of artists who produce a lot. Like I heard one artist have to produce 2,000 art pieces to become a famous artist. So in this art market, you do need lots of artwork, which women artists have a little disadvantage to run by the commercial way. And Chinese contemporary art, in this moment, it's still building the art market, even use illegal way or somehow. Now they are the world's second biggest art market, but it's not built from zero. They're doing something in very short time.